What did you
I feel
think
like
of Stranger Things then?
Really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was really good. I saw your video essay on it, and I
Oh
think
yeah,
no.
you've got some
very good.
very, very good points to make.
I I cackled with your Nestle Crunch joke. That actually like made me cackle with laughter. Like that was just it's just that unlocked a piece of my brain at the same time, and it was just no stop. That's well done.
Yeah, no, that was a stressful day. Getting up to watch it like as soon as it dropped, and then doing the whole.
I can imagine your fucking be reals went off at like fucking what I think 9 a.m. that day. I'd woken up and I just saw you watching fucking Stranger Things, and I'm like, dude, it's a fright. Everyone's trying to sleep. How are you up?
Did
How are
you
you
manage
always
to
through that first episode?
Did you manage to see any of like the non-finalized shots or anything if you were watching it that early? Like any
What
of the stuff?
non-finalized shots? I haven't heard
Like,
anything about that.
the Duffer Brothers, like they only finished the CG the morning it went live.
Oh yeah,
So you potentially were watching like some unfinalized footage of, and then they updated it on the Netflix server like the
Is
morning
that
it
why
went
it?
live.
Is that why it went down and then back up?
probably.
I think it went down because that many people at once were trying to watch it, but
Oh.
that was like a thing they said, like, oh, you're potentially seeing like the version of this that wasn't meant to go out because, and I mean those poor VFX artists like,
Yeah.
rushing
Oh,
that,
God.
but I was wondering if you'd spotted anything and you thought that doesn't look right.
What's really
I
insane
mean-
to me about that is like it's taken them 3 years to get this season done.
Yeah,
And like the fact it took right up to the last minute on the VFX. I mean, it looks incredible, but
Fucking
like
phenomenal.
it took so long to get to that point. It
I
surely
mean, they
was
are
time.
also literally doing 9 feature films.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't think there's one episode that's not feature length, and obviously the final one being 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's
it's 2.5 hours.
final episode's 2.5 hours long.
Oh, fuck off. There's no need way it needs to be that long. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, there's no way in hell it needs to be that long.
Kind of did.
Yeah,
No.
That's the thing.
I
There's
think
no
if you
reality you can convince me that it needed to be that long.
if you really wanted to like go through it with a fine tooth comb, like and be like a proper like spoil sport, you could like cut a few bits out. But if you want to like tell the narrative and still have like the satisfying setups and payoffs in the thing, then I would argue that it kind of, because I was the exact same when I had 2.5 hours. Nah, fuck off. But I think it is
flies
actually.
by. It does kind of fly
Yeah.
by. But like, I will like nitpick and say like there are bits that could have been cut down. I think the same way as in Endgame where I'm like, yeah, this didn't need to be 3 hours, but I'm kind of glad that it was for the spectacle of it. This is 2.5 hours of very good TV. I guess it's a movie, but it's good TV because it requires everything else to watch beforehand. But it definitely could have been cut and stripped down a little bit. I think there's a lot of areas where it's just like suspense. I think there's like 20 minutes of suspense for a little bit.
Yeah, like there's that bit where like they all kind of get caught up, and then it keeps cutting back to them being caught up for about I think 30 minutes, and it's like we're not gonna
We're
do
move on.
anything
We're gonna
else.
carry
Here. We're
on
not
going.
gonna.
Where are we going? He's running after a demo dog, I guess. He's been doing that for about an hour now.
I think it's one hell of an achievement in terms of just filmmaking and craft. Like doing something on that scale in COVID.
Oh,
Fucking hell.
I think what it did is really justify why it needed to exist, which is like the biggest thing that I think Stranger Things needed to do. Because like I feel like the third season has such a nice ending to it. It's a final bit. We don't have to think about Stranger Things anymore. And then season 4 comes around, and it just instantly brings you back. You're like, oh yeah, no, okay, I see why this is happening. That's fair enough.
And it's like, I understand, yeah, they could have cut it down in a whole load of different areas, but I just love spending time in the world of this show, where like just seeing the characters like have some fun with that, actually like getting you invested back in the characters as opposed to just waiting for the supernatural threat to come in. Yeah, I just thought it was,
Yeah.
I think it's just a really special show as is. They've got such an incredible cast that they put together, and just seeing them interact is just like I could just watch it for hours and hours.
100%. We should probably talk spoilers a little bit now that we've sort of pitched why we think it's still good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fair enough. If you don't care that much, Zach, then that's fine.
I'll watch this in like 6 months and will have probably forgotten.
Yeah.
So Zach, with the bits that have been spoilt for you, what do you think the story is?
I have like I know there's like a house and like one of the kids in the lab is now the big bad. He's very hot. He was great in Twilight. I'm very glad he's now working again. Like, I know.
He was better in Mortal Instruments.
Yeah, whatever that is. Oh god, no, that thing. Oh no, that thing. Oh, that was that awful show, wasn't it? Oh god, Robert Sheehan was in that, wasn't he? Oh fucking hell, poor sod. I know. I literally just went on Twitter on the morning and it was like, oh, spoiler, Eddie and Max gone. Like, I didn't even know the context. I was just scrolling, hadn't gone looking. Just, oh, okay, that's there. Like,
You didn't know who Eddie was, so
I know he was like the grunge guy with the guitar.
yeah, fair.
And I saw a lot of people like going like, oh, I'm really shocked he's upset. I'm really shocked he's dead. But it's like they do that every series. They get a nice new character and then they kill them off immediately.
So, well, like the thing is with Eddie, it did kind of take me off guard because like it didn't feel like his arc felt it was whole. It just sort of was like, oh, he's scared, and I was like, I'm not scared now. It was like, okay, fair enough. He was protecting the kid. That's nice. But I really, really expected it to be Steve that died and Eddie carried on the Steve role.
There were so many hints that it was going to be Steve.
So many. It was a good bait and switch because I feel like that's what everyone was convinced it was going to happen. Even fucking Noah Schnapp said that it was going to happen.
Did he?
It was like, well, dude.
Because like even on the poster and everything, everyone was going like full tinfoil hat because on the front of their bikes, all of them had lights except for Harrington. So everyone was like, okay, his light's going to go out. He's gonna die. But no.
How was because that's one thing that will definitely get me to watch it eventually is how was Robert Englund in it? Like,
He was really good. He was only in it for one episode,
oh come on,
but it was kind of watching going, oh shit, that's from England.
it's Freddy. No.
But yeah, no, he's really good in it because he's kind of like doing a lot of exposition and stuff, kind of like establishing
Good.
a bit of a flashback.
Good.
But yeah, no, he's a lot of fun. Because he has like these prosthetics on his eyes where it's like he stabbed them out. And it's kind of like they're weeping and they're a bit pussy,
perfect.
and it's
Oh,
because this series goes right back into horror, where it's
that's pretty
yeah,
good.
it is trying to be scary again, which is good.
It
Yeah,
definitely
just-
felt more scary this time because it was the issue is that like last season felt like we'd figured out the threat wasn't a threat. We were just trying to steal the gate, and then this season's like, oh no, there's actually like something that we can't figure out or do anything about. I think it's the problem that season 2 had, where it was like, oh, so the Demogorgon was the big bad, but now they can just kill 4 of them in an episode. Okay.
Yeah, like I know I said it in my video essay, but I loved that they made the original Demogorgon like an actual threat again, where they were like building it up. This whole series, you knew what was in there, and then as soon as it comes out in that bit, it just fucking tears everyone apart.
Yeah. Like, I can't speak to Vecna as a villain because I haven't really seen it, but I personally think of the monsters they've had, they've never designed a better one than the Demogorgon. Like, that's like
Oh,
ingrained
100%.
into sort of like the zeitgeist now as
I
like
fully
its
believe that.
own like mythos, like it's perfect design and creature.
Although it's weird because around the same time, a whole load of creatures like looked extremely similar. Like it looked like the ones from A Quiet Place as well,
Oh yeah.
and a whole load of other ones. But yeah, no, I like that they've still just fully embraced that. But it was weird because I didn't realize I've only just been going. You know, they did that. Every like network went through that weird phase of doing like a Talking Dead type TV show where it was like they then like discuss everything afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm only going through slowly Beyond Stranger Things with like Jim Rash in it from Community and everything. And in it, the Duffer Brothers said that they shot pretty much all of the Demogorgon stuff in the first series practically. They had a guy in a suit because they only had like one VFX guy, but it was then because they had a whole load of complications with it, they then like had to CG over it for a lot of it. But they said that was the reason why the design was like that, is so that they could get this guy in the suit for it. But I had no clue. I just presumed it was all CG.
Yeah.
I mean, Vecna looks incredible.
He does.
The makeup
he
on that.
does
Yeah.
look very good.
And I love
think-
that it's CG enhanced as opposed to just like complete CG.
It's
Yeah.
what's I think is sort of good about the first season and this season is that like you do feel like they're a threat because they are present. Like they feel like they are looking at something. With the Demodogs, it doesn't feel like they're just sort of grabbing at the air or something. And then like now the Demogorgon feels like an actual threat because they tried to make it a threat in the Russian prison. Then they did it with this, with like actually Vecna being a whole, like it just takes over your mind. The Mind Flayer didn't feel like a threat is the issue.
Yeah.
Like the Mind Flayer just sort of happened to Will and that was about it. This like actually feels like a threat because we have something to assign that to. I think the fact that it's so present in each scene is so. I don't know. I loved it. I actually just think it's just so. It did the horror aspect made it feel scary throughout all of it. Like the cliffhanger that we had for the split between the two, just so good, so good. Because it just you genuinely were on edge the whole time.
How do you feel about them kind of like just slotting Vecna and being like, he was there the whole time?
I'm happy with it because it feels like they've justified why it needed to be this long, whereas it could have easily been those 3 seasons and we wouldn't have to think about it again. But now it feels like there's a reason that this has all happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and it's the biggest complaint I think people will have with this season, most of it was exposition.
It's a shame.
There is a good part of that final half, the final 2 episodes, where they are just going, oh yeah, so this happened because of this, and he's there because of this, and this has happened because of this, and this is why the Mind Flayer exists because of this. And it's like, okay, cool, and you're doing it in a way that doesn't feel like we're slowing down, but you're justifying why this exists. That I don't actually have to care about that. You could just say that Vecna's evil, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, because especially in the... like, I like how they justified it with saying to Nancy, like, okay, now I've shown you why I'm doing this. Let me show you what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But the cliffhanger did kind of, when it suddenly explained his whole backstory and everything, did suddenly feel like, let me do the villain monologue and explain everything now.
It's the Dr. Doofenshmirtz line of like, I'm just going to explain to you exactly what my innator does, and then,
Yeah.
oh no, my innator's gone. Okay. I do like that we didn't actually see them win, because I feel like they take away the threat so much in Stranger Things that then it's like, because the end of the season 1 is really good because it's like, oh, they won, but did they? And then they did, but not really. And
Yeah,
then
like
this
I
one
hope
is-
the end of Stranger Things 5 kind of is nice and satisfying, but I hope that it doesn't just round everything off and go, okay, now everyone's safe now, because you've set up this massive threat. Like, I think there should still be like not an illusion for like or something to just allude to a sequel or what have you, but I think there should still be something where it's like it's either being this massive sacrifice to be able to close the gate to the Upside Down and everything, but I think there should still be like a little hint of, oh, there's still like one gateway or something.
I can't say for certain because I haven't seen, but I reckon it will be this case of like Hawkins is still at risk from being invaded, but it's done for our characters, and then they'll do like a 2-3 years time they'll do like another show and it's a new cast, or it'll be like an anthology thing. Like that's too rich an IP for like them to not want to continue with, but they'll
Like-
say it's done for our core 6 or 7 characters.
You can just see the series in about 10-20 years where they get the original cast back. They do like the legacy sequel where it'll be like Stranger Things 6,
Yeah.
and then it'll be like, we've got the band back together.
And it's like set in 2000s or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it
And make
sells
us feel
it
very
sells
old.
itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sells itself. Like they wouldn't even have to try with that. Like that's
Like, because
I don't think-
they'd do like to Britney Spears what they've done with like Running Up That Hill.
Yeah.
Oh
It-
god, yeah.
You know that they could just slot that. It writes itself, doesn't
Waiting
it?
for it.
And you could like do the thing of like how, in response to like so much of like what the horror construction was of like the first few seasons, like it was based on like all like 80s classics like The Thing and Halloween. Like you could just like fully map it onto like old 2000s horror, like do The Ring, do like I Know What You Did Last Summer, like Scream, all that. Just meld that into it. That would fit so perfectly. Like,
It's,
oh, it annoys me that I'd watch that. It really
Oh.
annoys me.
they have a stranglehold on like the audience now at this point that I don't think they genuinely had to try, which is why Stranger Things 4 I think feels more like an outlier, because 3 is really good, but like I was gonna watch 3, I was gonna watch 2, I
don't
was
like
gonna
3.
watch 4, but I really liked 4.
Like
know?
even not great Stranger Things is still good TV.
That's the
Like,
same as I say
even
with
in its-
Community.
Even in
And-
its weaker moments, it's still really good television.
Yeah. I love shows that are like that, where they have clearly elevated the platform so much that like even when they're having an off day, it's so good. Like the
Yeah.
episode in season 3 where Eleven's off with some random people who have numbers as well. Like everyone's
Yeah.
forgot about that episode now because we have so much like exposition about the like Vecna and stuff. But there's a whole series that could be written about those people.
Well, that's what it
And
was.
they just slot
that's
it
what
in.
that's what that episode was. That was them
Yeah.
pitching like and then it failed because everyone
If-
hated it.
It failed because it just cut away from the whole of
Yeah,
the show.
yeah,
That's
it's
why
the
it
stupidest
failed.
idea they
you
ever
know?
had.
I
Like-
don't know why it was like that, but
But the thing is, I think if they kind of cut it up like they did with the storylines in this series, like it would be weird if this series they did like a solely Russia episode, for example, where it would kill the momentum of all the other ones.
Yeah.
So I think like if they split it up and spread it out a bit more, people would be a bit more like, yeah, okay, I see a bit more what
I
they're doing
will-
with this. It doesn't derail the pacing.
I will say the Russia stuff could have been done in a single episode. Like there isn't a lot that happens up until the finale in Russia that really justifies it being, let's cut back to see what Hopper's doing. It's just like, oh yeah, no, he's still in prison. He's broken his leg this time.
Because it seemed for a while that they were really just going to get him first try and it wasn't going to
Yeah.
have any kind of like difficulties to it. And then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, no, everything's going bad again. That's
Yeah.
fine.
That's good. I don't know. It feels like they sort of really tried to split them up as best they could. Like, oh yeah, Mike and Will and 11 are all together. Oh no, 11 isn't with them now. Oh shit, what are they gonna do? And then you had to just take the adults out of the situation to make it
Yeah.
feel new, which felt kind of, I don't know,
Like-
it felt cheap a little bit to me a bit.
Yeah, you had to have Joyce leave before they knew anything about Vecna and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. Like, she would be there to try and like, her
She would
best
be
to protect
doing
them.
her stuff, yeah.
Do you think because they've already done the fake out death with Hopper, do you think out of the adults left, so what, Murray and Joyce, do you
Murray.
reckon, as Joaquin Phoenix's delivery was stuck in my head, do you think they would kill, because obviously like Murray's the obvious one to die because he's not like one of the main ones, but do you think
Aw.
they'd kill Joyce off?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She was like the crux of what Stranger Things was started on. Like, oh, Winona Ryder's doing a new project. That would be such like a swan song for the show to get rid of her. Like, I'd hate to see it, but it would. It would like, all fit so well.
What's I think really great about this final season that's going to come out is that I don't feel like anyone is safe anymore. Like, it genuinely feels like there is something at stake now, which we didn't have for a while. It's why, like, as much as I believe Steve might die, it was like, oh, yeah, but also he's like one of the biggest characters in this show. Like, it's Steve and Kate, Gayton, what's his character? Dustin. Steve and Dustin.
Yeah.
Those two, that's a pairing that's going to work every time you do it.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna get rid of it.
that was another thing that was said on the Beyond Stranger Things show. The Duffers said that kind of happened by accident because they had all these characters off doing these other things. They're like, okay, we need Dustin to go off and do this, but he can't really do it by himself. Then we also need to do more with Steve. Yeah, we'll put them together. We'll see how it works. And obviously, it's like the best thing of the show.
Well, that's how like Stewie and Brian worked on Family Guy. Like, it's just happens sometimes where people will just write characters together and it worked. Happened with Abed and Troy. It was supposed to be Troy and Pierce, who were like the Beavis and Butthead of the group, and then it just ended up being Abed and Troy. And you're like, oh yeah, fair enough.
Why? What's wrong with Pierce?
No. He didn't show up to set. But yeah, I think it's the best accidental thing they could have done, because it just... everyone loves that dynamic. Everyone sees Steve as that dad figure now. And he tried to break out of it this season, but he's just ended up still being that. I think it's just going to be the best dynamic that they can do. If they don't do that in the final season, they're doing something wrong.
Well, I think they even commented on it on this series where Steve was like, I'm always stuck with Dustin.
Yeah.
It's like, for good reason. You will love it.
You need to be here.
You'd have died in series 1 if it wasn't for this.
Yeah. Like, I really love the moment in the finale of Stranger Things 2 where they go into the dance and it's like he's being hyped up for like doing his hair and everything all by like Steve. Then he goes up and he asks the girl to like dance and she's just like, no, what the fuck? And then it's kind of Dustin's realization of, shit, I'm not Steve.
Yeah.
It's just like really heartbreaking because Gaten's so good. He's such a good actor.
So good. Holy shit. I love that he is getting so much notoriety in that fact. Like, he did loads of musical theatre like since now. And I really want to see him in like a new big role now.
Yeah, because it was him, Sadie Sink, and one of the other Stranger Things kids was... they were all on like Broadway beforehand. Because Sadie Sink was Annie, Gaten was in Les Mis. I can't remember. It might have been Finn Wolfhard, I think.
Probably.
But I'm not sure which one.
I doubt it's Noah, and I don't think it's Millie Bobby Brown.
Was it Lucas?
Yeah, I don't know if Caleb's like got a theatrical background or not. I thought he finally had something to do this series. I thought he was brilliant. Like the stuff when he was fighting the blonde dude.
Yeah. It felt like he had a weird struggle, because he like obviously wanted to be the popular kid, and then realized what being the popular kid was, and then ran away from it. It didn't feel like... it just felt like he'd sort of led these people to this, rather than like it being much of an internal struggle for him. Like, do I want to continue being this kid, or do I want to grow up? And it didn't. I think you could have done more with that, and kind of sad they didn't. But also, I get they have so much stuff to juggle, but it's kind of hard to give these characters so many arcs. It's why I think Eddie is the biggest disappointment for that fact, because it just... there is an arc there that they just sort of shoehorned in at the end. It was like, okay, you could have done this because he's focused, you know?
Yeah, there was that brilliant moment where he's speaking to Steve and he's like, yeah, the Dustin worships you, man. Like, and yeah, in that moment it seemed like they were going to switch and it was going to be Steve that died.
Stranger Things is good. I could say that.
Like, it's so easy. Obviously, it's like a billion times easier to like criticize things than to actually make things. And the fact that, like, yeah, we can sit back and we can nitpick and we'll be like, it didn't really feel like Steve and Robin really like reacted to Eddie's death in the slightest. But it's like so easy to just like pick out these little things and, oh, they could have made more of this moment or that moment. But the fact that they've made these 9 episodes that are all feature films and made them to this quality in a pandemic.
All we can think about is like small nitpicks that we can also go, oh, but also they have so much stuff to do still. It's still doing so much. Really, really, really good. It's like, I don't think there's much. This season's like, I think if you really like Stranger Things or like have liked Stranger Things in the past, this season's the one that's giving you that closure of like, oh, I'm so glad I put my time into this. I'm so glad that this is why I watched this show. Because that first season does that, and then it's been coasting ever since, and this is like, holy shit, this is good.
I look forward to when I watch it in 6 months' time.
You'll love it. You will love it.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
I also think the jock, the blonde one who like riles everyone up, and then fights Lucas in the final episode. Then also, shit, what's her name? The first Vecna kill. Chrissy, that's it. I think those two would make a perfect live action Zelda and Link.
Chrissy, yes. I don't know the blonde dude, so I'd have to look at that. I'll have to Google that. Chrissy,
Yeah.
I could see it, kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
Blonde people, man. They're doing their bit.
Finally. Hell yeah, dude.
At last.
From